For more, we're joined by our correspondent in New York, Sherwin Bryce-Pease. Sherwin, thank you. And you've looked at one business, but this is happening on a multiple, tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold scale across the United States, isn't it?
Absolutely. Movie theaters, Broadway shows. I'm getting some feedback in my. I can just take that out. Small businesses, restaurants, the ability for people to walk in, go home, a great deal of disruption across these United States. And in a city like New York, you know, a hustling, bustling city of 8 million people, the decision now being considered by the mayor, Bill de Blasio, to keep people in their homes, similar to what they've done in San Francisco, a mandatory order, short of a mandatory quarantine. These are new times. This is a different world order, as Rose Schwarbeck in that piece referred to, and everybody's feeling it now, Francis.
Indeed. You're cutting a little bit, but let's keep trying, Sherwin, because I want to ask about the rationale behind closing borders between the U.S., Mexico, between the U.S. and Canada. What are all these countries trying to achieve?
Well, it initially went against World Health Organization advice in terms of how we mitigate the spread of this. For better planning, Francis, in terms of coming to terms of what the requirements on the ground would be. But we are seeing countries, I think, increasingly panic with the of people bringing the virus into the country while they have not come to terms with the virus that is on the ground and it's spread on the ground now. So as you correctly point out, the latest decision from the Trump administration was to close that border, that sprawling border with the neighbor Canada, the second largest trading partner with the United States, because I think there are too many unknowns for officials right now in various countries for them to focus on within their borders, and let alone having to deal with people still bringing this virus in. I think the best example we can use is what's happened in South Africa. This was imported into South Africa, as we understand it, from people that visited Italy. And so the fear is that if borders are not closed now, people could be migrating the virus from other parts of the world while community transfer is happening within those borders, just further complicating issues.
Yeah. So Trump had a press conference earlier calling it again the Chinese virus. Just give us a sense of how the White House's handling of coronavirus right now is being received.
Well, what's fast becoming, Francis, a mantra of Donald Trump is this line, that it's no one's fault, right? This was someone that downplayed the severity of the virus. He upplayed how the United States would quickly deal with this. Of course, the narrative changing from the White House. They are going to be instituting the use of the Defense Protection Act, which allows for greater control from the federal government of the production of much-needed resources. We often hear about the lag we are seeing in supply chain management as it comes to protective gear for people at the front lines of this outbreak, healthcare workers in particular, the shortage of ventilators. We hear about a shortage of masks and gloves and additional protective gear. The federal government now instituting or using a federal law called the Defense Protection Act that really allows them to take over these supply chains to ensure that the production of these much-needed materials, similar to what would happen during a war footing, really taking control of this. In fact, the president was asked, do you now view the United States as being on a war footing, Francis, during that press conference? He said not only does he do that, he also views himself now as a war president. But you also correctly point out that the president is now referring to this as the Chinese virus, and that is causing an affront and some offense to many Chinese Americans who live in the United States.
Finally, Sherwin, you've spoken often about the empty streets, about how the character of New York has changed so dramatically. Just give us a sense of living in the U.S. right now. I guess in South Africa, we're still slowly ramping up and coming to terms to what this might mean for our mobility, our daily lives. It's only just hitting home.
Well, you know, let me put it this way. A colleague at the United Nations press corps where we are based, Francis, tested positive for coronavirus yesterday. This news coming through to us this morning. And this is a colleague that we've all interacted with, officials at the UN. I've just spoken to someone that works with the South African mission to the United Nations, because I saw the two of them having a conversation. And so, while people are not showing symptoms, the fear is that a lot of people, especially in younger groups, carry the virus but don't show symptoms, but they are still therefore able to transfer that infection to someone else, someone who might come down with more severe symptoms than perhaps they are showing. So the big fear, the big goal in terms of the restrictions we are seeing, the closure of businesses and workplaces and people being told to telecommute, essentially work from home, is because authorities are recognizing the need to social distance people. We have to be at arm's length from each other. We have to isolate ourselves because we don't know yet who has it. And if you don't know, you shouldn't be shaking hands. You shouldn't be having close conversations with people in close proximity. You should be self-isolating, particularly if you're in one of those vulnerable age group categories of 65 and plus. So it's all the unknowns. It's about coming to terms as they upscale testing in the country, as they get mobile testing going, the ability for people to drive through and to have a swab taken and a test sent to their mobile phone. We are not at that level yet. And so the fear is that we don't know who has it. And despite people not showing symptoms, to stay in isolation until we get a grip in terms of this virus. This is what's coming to South Africa. You might as well start early.
All right. Thank you very much, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, reporting there live from the US.